Okay, we're
James
live.
J, take two, Feng Shui Q&A. Click. Well, everyone, this is a really good example of Mercury retro and how technology doesn't always work, and that's okay. It's just the way it is. So, are you ready to jump right in, James?
I'm ready.
Well, James, you want to say hi to everybody in case they don't know who you are?
Hi, everybody. James J here, Feng Shui professional for the past 25 years or so.
He's one of my buddies. We're doing joint ventures together. We're going to have two live event things going on in Minnesota next year. So let's jump right in. James, expert interview this time. He has many, but this one is on real estate staging. So we have a question here, and I'm just going to go down the line and read them, and then you can comment. So it says, we're going to have a major remodeling, but I would like to take James' staging course. We will be sending an email out. James and I are actually getting together after this call to get the dates down and come up with a plan for Minnesota 2015. The question is, should I wait, or what is expected of students that take the class? And so what are you suggesting if they're interested now? Because we do have some people interested now. Do you think it'd be better to do it live?
Well, it's always better to do it live, but I do have the complete course online, and if you're really in a hurry, you could do that. And if you want to send me an email, I can send you information. And my email address is james@f like feng, S like shui, D like designs, I like India.com. I'll type it down. I'll type it in the text.
Beat you to it.
Well, the website's there too. Okay. But yeah, if you're really in a hurry, you can do it right away. You don't have to have a lot of staging experience. We teach you everything you need to know in the course, and in order to pass the course, you need to do one project, and the project is just a simple before and after, and it could be one of your own rooms in your house, your bedroom, your closet, living room, or it could be a friend's home, or it could be an actual staging project.
So, James, the reason you're doing that is when they take it online, that you can actually see they understand the coursework, and you're not one of those that are just giving them information and sending out a certificate.
Exactly. Yeah, I like to be a little more hands-on, and that way I can make sure they got the idea. But it doesn't have to be a really involved project. I mean, I've had people even stage a bookcase, believe it or not.
Oh.
And that came out really beautiful, actually. So
how unique.
Yeah, very unique.
And send James an email, and I know who you are. You're a great listener. I do appreciate that. And we will make sure to get specifically back to you. But what James and I are working on is a live event in Minnesota, because we've had quite a response from where I live. James came here and did a talk, I think a month or two ago. I can't remember, time flies. And if you take his online course now, if you're ready to get rocking and you don't want to wait until the spring of next year, we're going to figure out some type of refresher discount for his students that have previously taken the course. But we don't have the exact information right now. The great thing about real estate staging, Ann, is you can help anybody anywhere in the world, right?
Definitely. And the main difference between doing it online and doing it live is live, we're going to have a project or two to actually do. So, like a field trip, we'll actually stage a home.
Right. We'll find people in the area that are, you know, we do this for Feng Shui certification courses and things. We like to go out and actually do hands-on because we want you to be successful. This isn't just about, you know, taking a little course and us making money or James making money. We want you really to be good at what you do. the second part of the question is also looking at vacation homes. One has what looks like 3 areas of the bagua missing, and another, the entries to the rooms are on the diagonal. How do you detail if a property is worth buying? Well, let's do that one at a time. What about a house on the diagonal? First of all, I can tell you we wouldn't suggest that for a home, but a business would be really good.
It says entries to the rooms are on a diagonal. When you have an entry to a room on a diagonal, it means that really unexpected things can come into your life, not always good things. So we try to avoid that in Feng Shui, but it's not a deal breaker per se. There's always a cure, for whatever Feng Shui problem you may have. The best thing I can recommend is to get an actual Feng Shui person to come out and take a look at something you're interested in buying. Or you can send somebody like Brenny or myself floor plans, some photographs, something like that. Be happy to, look it over. But some things are deal killers, some aren't. So it's hard to say without actually seeing the place.
Okay, so, the part, Ann, if you can type in about what looks like 3 areas of the bagua are missing. To me, that's sounding like an L shape almost. Can you be a little bit more specific so we can address that? Because I'm not sure. James, do you have any comments on that? Because to me, unless I see the floor plan or, have a little more information.
Yeah, no, it's hard to tell because 3 areas of the bagua missing. I mean, it could be a T shape, it could be a cross, it could be an L shape. You may be mistaken even, and maybe you have an enhancement.
Yeah. Now, one thing is, don't beat yourself up at all, people, if you have troubles with the floor plans, because that is one of the most challenging things for Feng Shui consultants to learn. Don't you agree with that, James? Have you had your students challenged there?
Absolutely. Yeah, because there's so many different, styles of buildings, and I found that oftentimes, the more high-end you get with a building, the more all over the place it is. Generally speaking, the simpler homes are, much easier to deal with. But having said that, every place has its positives and negatives, and we just really try and find. Well, in staging in particular, we enhance the positive and play down the negative.
James, I have a question looking back at where Ann had said, also looking at vacation homes. Well, a vacation home's not going to have as big of an impact as the home you live in, is it? Like, let's say you're only in a vacation home 2 weeks a year. Then that really, would that be a big impact? The doors at a diagonal? Or
yeah, not as much as your main residence for sure, but still, you want to get the best Feng Shui you can, regardless.
So, Jim, what would you say is the #1 staging tip you could give for people that are interested in certification? I mean, what's the one thing that they need to know, or somebody who's hiring someone to stage?
If you're hiring someone to stage, try and find out if that person staged other homes, what kind of success they've had. But I would say probably the #1 thing is you want to bring people into the home. So the first step is to start on the outside, and develop what we call curb appeal. And because a lot of times people make up their decision to buy a home just by driving by. And if you can't grab them in that very first impression, you lose a big percentage of your possible buyers. So I always, recommend people, you have a budget and allocate portions of that budget to the outside front of the building. And it can be as simple as buying some driveway, blacktop refresher and make your driveway look sparkly, get some flowers out there. You don't have to spend a lot of money, but it should be neat, open, inviting, and well organized and colorful.
James, even as far as coming right up before the house, because from being in real estate, drove around and saw a lot of homes and then doing staging, I would see sometimes that they had worked on the house, but like the mailbox would be chipping paint and only half their name was on it, and it would be maybe not the prettiest just coming in, but once you started down the driveway, they had really worked on it. Now, what kind of energy, what does that mean? Is that important that their mailbox looks good before they pull in?
Yeah, everything has to look good, really. They say that people make their mind up whether to buy or not within just a matter of minutes. And so in the staging process, we want to elicit the most, how would I say it, the most powerful emotions we can from people. And so you should approach the house from several different angles. I always recommend driving up the street once, turn around, drive down the other way, and see everything that hits your vision as you're approaching the property. And if anything is really you know, out of whack that you can do something with, then, you know, definitely do it, like the mailbox is falling down, or, you know, something simple like that. Also, I recommend putting the for sale sign so it's perpendicular to the street. That way, when people are driving down the road, even if they're a couple blocks away, they can still see the sign, because it's not parallel. When the sign is parallel, you don't see it till you get right on top of the property. That's
Jake,
a very simple thing.
Did you say to put which sector also? You had said in the interview, in case I didn't get to listen to you yet, where did you tell them would be the best place to put the sign, which would be either your travel and helpful people, your career, or your spirituality and knowledge of the property? Where did you say the sign is the best, and why?
I always recommend to try and get it in that benefactors, that or travel helpful people area, because if you look at someone who's a potential buyer, they're actually supporting your life, or you know, they're acting as a helpful person. So if we can enhance that area, then we're doing two things. We're, you know, we're enhancing that area, the bagua, which kind of puts that energy out, and plus we're making the sign so it's very you know, easy to see.
Well, that's definitely a helpful person to me, because they're putting money on my pocket, and then I go back to the cross sector, which means I get to travel.
Exactly. And that's the Qian trigram of the bagua, which represents heaven. That's what we call it, benefactors. It's like receiving gifts from the spiritual realm, or from heaven. And so when you're putting a piece of property on the market for sale, you really want to call on that, you know, energy to bring people to the property to check it out. So another reason to put it there, you're calling on heaven for help.
And even if they didn't know the 3 secrets of reinforcement, just when they put the sign in the ground, if they put their intention to call in the right person for it, would that be helpful at all?
Yeah, the most important part of putting up a Feng Shui cure is to set your intention, what you want that cure, that solution to do. So your visualization, your intention, your thought process of what you want to create is probably the most important ingredient. And then, of course, in the 3 secrets reinforcement, that's something, a process that we use with Feng Shui solutions to activate them. And the 3 parts are simply your body, your speech, and your mind. So simply put, you can hold your hands together in prayer. You can say a mantra or an affirmation or a prayer 9 times, and then just take that moment to visualize. So if you place the real estate sign in the benefactor's corner, you could you know, place the sign, then take a moment, put your hands together, and say something 9 times, like, I call in the abundance of the universe, or the wisdom of the universe to bring right buyer to my property. You know, something as simple as that. And then just take a moment to visualize people coming, checking it out, you know, and eventually purchasing it.
It really is that simple, isn't it, James?
It's very simple. You know, and Feng Shui is predicated on common sense. So there's really nothing in Feng Shui that doesn't, you know, make good sense. And a good Feng Shui house is a house that's designed with good sense.
So what he
So, and
was saying about the hand movement too, like you can do the prayer, you can do open hand. I mean, you can do the heart calming mudra. You know what works for you. It's really the power of the intention and being very focused and on what you want. Because how many other real estate agents or stagers just go out there, stick the sign in the ground, and walk away? Done with that. That's the energy they're setting for that house to sell. So something as simple as you being a real estate stager and guiding the real estate office agents, I guarantee you're going to get more and more work as you are very successful with one real estate agent. Other people are going to want your business, and all you're doing is setting the energy for what you want to happen instead of being done with that, stick that in the ground. I can say, even being a Feng Shui person, I've done that. Frozen grounds in Minnesota, real estate.
You know, you get those signs in.
Try to get the sign out with charcoal and, you know, all that fun stuff, heating up charcoal. So we're not perfect, and I'm just saying from my experience, just make it simple. And like Jane said, that takes a couple of minutes to just decide what you want and visually see it and state your intention.
Exactly.
James, what would you say is the number one thing inside the house when they first open the door? Would it be sight, smell, sound? What would you say? Well, let's do top two because one's kind of hard. What's important as a stager if they want to stage their house to know to look for? Because as we discussed earlier, the people that live in the house, you get used to the vibration, you get used to smells, you get used to clutter. What would you say is the most important thing?
Well, according to most real estate experts, the biggest turnoff are bad smells. So if you walk in the house and boom, you're hit with, I don't know, you know, animal smell.
Cat litter boxes would be a very bad Feng Shui to me.
Yeah. So, and then the next thing would be light. So if the place is dark, that's definitely going to be a turn-off too. So those are the two probably the key things. You should turn on all the lights in the home, open all the windows, lighten up all the drapes, you know, window treatments, and make sure that the house smells really good.
You know, as you were talking about turning on all the lights, James, I can tell you that the #1 real estate guy in our area and is great across the United States, he was like the number in the top 10 in the United States. I actually went out and I was showing one of his homes, and he came in and turned on all the lights. It was a great, big, beautiful home on a lake. And I had fun and flip a couple switches. They can see what's going on. Not really getting it. I mean, he literally went and turned every lamp on, and it was completely different because I said, well, I'm going to go outside, wait a minute, and then walk in and see if I think it even makes a difference. Because, you know, I can be a little stubborn at times. I'm not turning all those lights on.
Really?
James, it was, the energy was different. Everything about the house was more appealing. Before it seemed like just a house, and all these little lights made it feel like people were there, and it was a home. I mean, the energy was different.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so smell's important. Lights are important. Let's talk quickly then about color, because you know that I wouldn't particularly jive with the all red walls. So, you know, yeah. So not just me, but I'm a good example. So what kind of tones? Like, obviously, if I was going to sell my house, this bright green would not be the color I would leave this room, because it fits me, but this could be, somebody could love this house and this could be perfect for them, and they see this one color and that's it. Is that true?
Right. Yes, you want to stick with neutral colors, as neutral as possible, and bring in accents of colors. So by bringing in bright red pillows or picture frames or just different accent pieces, we can really bring in some vibrant color that way. But we want the walls, we want the background to be as neutral as possible, because it'll give the place a sense of more space. Plus, some people are affected by different colors. And there's a saying in real estate that people buy space, not stuff. So the more you can open it up, you know, make it more neutral, the more expansive it's going to appear. And then there's also some color palettes called traditional colors. And those are colors that have been tried and true, been used for hundreds of years on homes. Those are the color palettes you want to stay with, especially for the exterior.
What about the color that you have behind you, that kind of blue color? Would that be an okay color if somebody had their a room painted that color, that they could keep it, or would you suggest going more those neutral tones?
Yeah, definitely going more than neutral. Now this is just one accent wall behind me, so the ceiling is not that same color. That would be an overpowering color if it was everywhere.
Mm-hmm. And just so everybody knows, this is like the only bright color I have. The rest are golds and rusts and, you know, that. But this is where I work, and this is my favorite color, so that's what I do.
That brings up another point, too. When we're setting up various rooms, it's good to make each room be what it was designed to be. So if it was designed to be a bedroom, but you've used it as an office, it's best to go back to the bedroom if possible, if you can do it. Because people don't really, you know, I mean, a lot of people, you know, enjoy home offices now for sure, but it's good to put the original function back. It's just been tried and true that helps people make up their minds easier.
Yeah, so this was designed as a bedroom, but obviously I made it an office. It's in the front of the house where the energy is active, and if you've ever listened to me at all, you know that I have hummingbirds and butterflies. And oh, James, the latest thing is now the neighborhood puppy and a deer are friends, and the deer thinks it's a puppy, so they're out playing in my yard. Like I hear this clickety click, and I look, and there's a deer, a little yearling, playing with this dog. So I guess fun. I told you, you know, I did the blessing that Master Lynn has us do on our property. I did the ceremony in pouring rain when I bought the house, and whenever people come over, they're like, you have so much wildlife over here. It's like Disney World. And I'm thinking, or Disneyland, whatever, you know, where, you know, you have all the animals, Bambi and stuff. And I never thought about it until actually, you know, there's a dog in a deer playing outside my window while I was working. I'm like, I was doing a recording, and it was like, it's true.
You ought to videotape it. It could go viral.
There you go. That's a really good way to get more people to take some of our courses, because our master obviously does know, taught us very well.
Absolutely.
So, James, tell me a little bit about your certification course, the one online, and you know, how long is it, and what do they actually learn?
Okay. Well, first of all, we have two different certification courses. We have three main programs that we do. The first is our CFSP. That's Certified Feng Shui Professional. That's a little more involved. It's a 5-day intensive plus a follow-up online live classes. And that certifies you to be a Feng Shui professional consultant, as recognized by the International Feng Shui Guild. And then we have our CFSS, which is Certified Feng Shui Staging Program. And we have that both on, we do it occasionally live, but we always have it available online. It's an 8-hour course, and it's all videos, and it takes you through all the steps in staging. So you learn what you would learn in an actual staging program, plus the layer of Feng Shui on top of that. Because Feng Shui, to me, makes all the difference of whether the place is just really going to shine or not. And
it's
then our third program
is right, James? Isn't that what we came up with? That Feng Shui is the secret weapon in staging over the other stagers. And I agree with that totally.
Yeah, so it gives you that edge, because we have certain things that we know will elicit really positive feelings from people. And that's the whole thing with Feng Shui, is that you're creating balance and harmony. And when a place has a feeling of balance and harmony, it feels like your life will be supported in that location. And people really crave that sense of support. So that kind of differentiates it. The third thing that we do is once a year we take people to China, as you well know. Brenny came along with us 12 years, was it 12? 12 years ago. Yeah. And that's just really, we kind of refer to that as our advanced program because you really get a chance to feel Feng Shui at its roots. Yeah, so that's basically, you know, those are basically the main things that we do.
Here's a good question. So Ann says, do the majority of real estate brokers know staging? And if so, how do you find clients? I'll go ahead and let you make a comment, and then as a real estate agent in the past, I'll make a comment from that point of view. Right.
Yeah, I think just about every broker knows to some degree, you know, or not, that staging is important. In fact, HGTV did a, it was a couple years ago, they had a panel of the top real estate experts in the country, and they boiled down the top 10 major mistakes people do when they list their homes. Everything from waiting till spring to list it, not finding the right real estate agent to represent you, trying to sell it yourself, hard to find the entrance to get into the place. But the #1 top 10 mistakes that people make when they list their homes is not staging. So this is recognized throughout the real estate industry that if you're going to put a house on the market and you don't just spend a little bit of effort and not that much money, really, you can do so many things so simply that you're going to diminish the amount of money that you can get for the home, because we know that staging increases the value. That's been proven. There's plenty of statistics to back that up. And the house stays on the market for about half as long. And that's also been a proven statistic. So, and time is money. So the longer it's on the market, you know, the more money you're losing, actually. So you want to get the place staged at least to a certain degree. And sometimes staging just means you've got to clean the place up, you know. Clear the clutter. That's probably the #1 thing to do. Get rid of as much clutter as possible. And then you can start.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Where I find staging was really important, James, is when the house is empty. Because, and that's how people kind of feel. And I've watched a lot of staging shows on TV, and it makes a huge difference just by putting in, you don't have to fill the whole house, but I mean, they wouldn't even put real beds in there. They put like those air mattresses, because it's about making it feel like a home. So if I can double stack an air mattress and put a quilt on it and some pillows, now how much is that? You can afford that. You should be able to if that's your business, your real estate business or a staging business. You could, I know many stagers that actually get furniture and do things like that, and they just have an outbuilding they store it in, or maybe we call them garages up here. What do you guys call those where you store stuff? Not, you guys don't call them garages in the West or the East or the South. That's just what we call them. Storage units? Is that what it's called?
Storage shed, barn. We usually
some place to keep things where you just keep like tables and chairs, and like James is talking, a lot of it's color. So it might be a napkin. It might be, you know, a candle. It's not a lot you have to do. And he's not talking about painting all the walls. He's talking about making it feel inviting. So I can tell you all realtors know about staging. All brokers know about staging. And
it's funny though, staging never really became an actual profession until I think it was in the 1970s. So it really hasn't been a profession for that long.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people just found out about it in the 90s.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah, so doing simple things. Well, getting back to talking about a vacant house, in our course we go over like where you can rent furniture, like you can rent a living room, rent a dining room. The most important rooms to stage are the living room, the kitchen, and the master bed and bath. If you can only do those, it's definitely going to be a lot better than doing nothing. And like Brenny said, you can bring in some blow-up beds. I've got several. And you can go to Target and buy a bed in a bag, right? So it's got the bedspread, the pillows, the pillowcases, everything to make a an ensemble presentation. And then we also like to set up little vignettes or little what we call lifestyle props. So it gives people a feel for what it would be like to live in that location. So you can set up a little espresso machine and a couple little cups, that people can imagine themselves enjoying their nice espresso while they're in this beautiful home. So little things like that really makes a big difference. And of course,
James,
repairs.
One of the things too that maybe smaller towns you can do is go to a furniture shop, because even little tiny towns like where I live have quite a few furniture shops, and maybe see if they are willing to give you some of the things that they have on their floor on display, and all you have to do is put a little sign, furniture by their name. So it doesn't cost you anything, you get it for free, and they get free advertisement.
Yeah, that's a win-win. That can really be really effective. And yeah,
it's how you approach it. Now, she also wanted to know, how does she get clients? So what would you suggest there?
Well, in the course we go over various ways. One of the simplest ways is to start to interface with the real estate offices in your area. Generally speaking, most real estate offices have meetings on a regular basis where all the agents come in, they find out about the new listings, and oftentimes they'll invite a speaker to come in for 45 minutes, 30 to 60 minutes, depending on how much time they have. And you can give a nice little demonstration or a presentation. And during the course, when you do your before and afters for the certification, that can be the beginning of your portfolio. And so if you can show people, some before and afters, and even if they're in your own home, so you do your living room before and after, you do your bedroom before and after, you do your master, if you have a walk-in closet, oftentimes those closets are pretty messy. We know we need to clean them up. Make it a project. Take pictures of it before, then organize it, and we have various steps on how to organize something as simple as a closet to make it look larger, make it look more, neat and organized. So every room.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on the weekly calls. That is, let's say I was going to do it, I would start and I would go to the real estate office that is really doing great, the top 2 real estate offices, and I would ask to get in front of the weekly meetings, because in real estate you always have a weekly meeting. It's like, what's going on, what do you have coming on the market, what do you have a discount on. It's where you discuss real estate and you help everybody understand what's going on in your office. Another thing would be like to go to the main MLS, multiple listing service, which in Minnesota each town has one, or each area I should say, because we have lots of smaller towns here. But that means every real estate office in that area is connected through them, and that's where you go out and look for your homes and everything. It's all interactive. So that, and just a note of when you do start staging and you are going to sell much faster than the others, is make sure to keep track of those facts and use that in your portfolio, and ask for testimonials, video testimonial that you can put on your website. 1 minute, the real estate lady says, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it, and came in, and by doing simple little things that didn't cost anything, the house sold within the next 2 weeks.
Exactly. When it happened, ask the China tour as part of the staging class. It's separate. It's different.
Yeah, he was talking about 3 things that they do. So I was listing them out as he was talking. So he's talking about Feng Shui. But I'm going to tell you, everybody, you need to go on that China tour, because it was so much fun, and I can't wait to go back. I just have to make time and go back with James, because I love that country, man. That was fun, and you will never find anybody who gives a tour that is more packed with fun. James, do you remember we went to Beijing and like I said in the past, we did more the first day than I thought we would do the whole tour. But we got to go to the guy's house that, you know, they wear the white face and sing opera like. Do you remember? I think he understood my personality right then, because I'm like, he's got these pictures all over, so what can he sing for us? And I remember the lady next to me hitting me, saying, shh, yeah, you can't ask that. Well, my personality is, why not? Why can't? And he broke out in song. He goes, no one has ever asked before.
Oh, he wanted to sing. He loves it. Yeah, he was part of the Beijing Opera, which is, we used to call the Peking Opera, which is probably, you know, one of the most famous operas in the world, really. And you're right. Traditionally, it was all male. So the female parts were played by men who, you know, had full makeup on and very high voices. And did he sing to us in a high voice? Like, yeah, yes, okay. So it's really high pitched. Yeah. It's kind of an acquired taste.
I was waiting for the windows to shatter.
Right. Yeah, he was amazing. That was part of the tour, where in Beijing they have these old neighborhoods called the Hutong neighborhoods. And they're gradually being leveled and replaced by high-rise apartments, but they're still preserving whole sections of the city that have the ancient setups for the homes. And it's just so fascinating going down these little alleys in a rickshaw and then actually visiting a family and seeing how they live. And it's amazing how they live.
It was cute,
Very
James.
small places.
I was over at my parents' house and something about China came on and they showed the rickshaw rides and they're like, did you do that? And I go, oh yeah, that was the first day.
Right.
We
that
had
was a big day.
20 rickshaws around because we had 40-some people, so it was like there was just this big long line of rickshaws. And if you don't know what a rickshaw is, do you want to explain to them?
Yeah, well, basically in Beijing, most of the rickshaws are little carriages on the back of a bicycle. And the carriages will hold two people under a little parasol. And it's just really a pleasant way to get around. And the really strong peddlers.
Yeah.
Little skinny guys. And I don't know where they get the strength, but man, they are strong.
Yeah, they're
and
like
they take you up and down.
90 pounds, and they've got 400 pounds that they're pulling behind him. It was quite amazing.
Yeah, they're in good shape. But fortunately, Beijing's flat, so there's not too many hills. But still, yeah, it's really an adventure. You know, I recommend people put it on their bucket list to at least try to go to China once in your life. Probably the #1 comment we get from people who go to China is that it's nothing like they imagined it. And any of you listening to this or watching this that have been, you probably had the same thing, same feeling, because we grew up with a certain amount of propaganda, a certain amount of ideas about what China's like, and it's not that way at all, especially when you get out of Beijing. When Beijing's the capital, so of course you're going to feel more of the political kind of underpinning there. But once you get out of Beijing, out into the country, it's like going back, 500 years. It's amazing.
The only time I ever felt like it was a communist country or political is when we were in Tiananmen Square.
Right.
That was the only time, and I was never fearful or felt funny in China at all. It's like I could have stayed another 2 months easily. I loved it there.
Yeah, but that's pretty much ground zero for the, all the politics of China.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
James, can you answer a question even though Ann has left the call? Because, we went long today, but that's just because we started a little late. She had asked, what does the intensive evolve and the follow-up? Because I had typed in that your CFSP is a 5-day intensive and follow-up. Can you clarify what you mean by that for her, what intensive involves, and then what do you mean by follow-up?
Okay, well, first of all, the core of the program is 5 days, consecutive days, 9 to 5 each day, of course material. And then follow-up simply means that after people go home, whatever. All kinds of questions come up. So we meet online a few times. We just schedule it out, and we meet online to get people's questions answered, to give more information, to help people study for the Feng Shui exam with the International Feng Shui Guild, because I do recommend people join the guild because it's really the only professional Feng Shui organization. So it really gives a lot of credence to our profession. And if you take their test, then you are automatically what they call a red ribbon professional, and they promote you as such. So it's easy to build your clientele when you have that sort of backing.
So they need to take a test for you to get certified, and then you suggest they take a test with the Feng Shui Guild to become a red ribbon professional?
Yeah, well, the way the CFSP course goes is that each day you get a quiz of the day's materials, and you need to pass that. And I haven't really had any failures yet, so it's not.
You must be a good teacher.
Well, I'm easy, but it's not something people really have to be afraid of. And then the other requisite is that after completing the course, the people need to do a residential and a commercial project and turn in a report. And
so
those again can be your own
project. What do you mean by do a project? Can you just explain that a little bit, please?
Yeah, Feng Shui analysis of a location based on what you learned. So, I mean, it can be your own home, because I know a lot of people who take the course do not have clients yet. So it's fine to go through your own home and give yourself a Feng Shui consultation. And we just we give you templates for your report, but we ask for a report, both residential and commercial. The commercial report can be your home office even. So it's designed so that people, even if they're not already a professional with clients, they can still get the certification.
Okay, then she's asking about what if you take the online course. I'm not sure what she means, what if you take the online course. I'm thinking maybe what's the difference between your 5-day intensive 9 to 5 versus online. How long does your online course last?
We don't have an online
course. Is it on their own?
We don't have an online course for the Certified Feng Shui Professional. We only have an online course for the Certified Feng Shui Staging, because it's not quite as involved. I'm really a firm believer that if you want to learn Feng Shui, it's really good to do hands-on. That's the way it's been forever.
Well,
and I know there's a lot of online courses.
I just wanted to make the point, in case y'all don't know, Feng Shui in the past was verbally passed down from monk to monk. There were no Feng Shui books written 5,000 years ago. It was the secret of secrets, and it's, especially our black sector, black hat or BTB, however you hear it, it's all the same thing. We're very ritualistic, and we honor our masters, and we respect the knowledge, because it was passed down verbally, and if the monks didn't get it, they weren't meant to get it. So to me, that's really powerful to think this has been around 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 years, verbally being passed down. It kind of reminds me of the Native Americans where I live. Everything has been verbal stories. They didn't have tablets writing things down. So just to be clear, Ann, James has 3 certifications, and one is a 5-day intensive Feng Shui certification. The other is his real estate staging certification, which is online, but I'm bringing him to Minnesota next year so he can teach all my people and add to their Feng Shui talents, because a lot of them, that's a good niche for them up here.
It's a real good niche. Yeah.
It's a great niche, guys, because you can do it anywhere in the world. I can move to New Zealand, I can move to London, I can move to Africa, and I can stage.
Right.
Any other questions you have for James, please type those in the box, because we've been on longer than anticipated, but we do appreciate your patience. And we really enjoy doing this. We just started this kind of thing, and we're practicing and we're learning more and more all the time. This will be replayed. You're just going to go to YouTube, and it's Feng Shui Q&A. Subscribe to the channel, and anytime we do these, it'll automatically go on that YouTube channel. And then when you open YouTube up, you can see your subscriptions, and you'll be able to see. Because sometimes James and I just decide we're going to do something. So I might say, hey, Thursday, hey, you want to do a Q&A? I've got all these questions. And I might just do it with him, and then it pops up there for you to watch later. So please do subscribe to our Feng Shui Q&A so you can be kept in the loop. We're not sending emails out. It's just a YouTube. You subscribe, and when you open your YouTube up, it's on the left-hand side. So if there's nothing else, we really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day, guys. We know everybody's busy and they're working. So thank you very much. Do send us emails. James is open for your questions. He wants to make sure you get in the right program and that it's a right fit for you. Do go out on our Facebook page and put comments there. That's just facebook.com/like-Brenny. And we're very approachable. So there you go. James put his email address in again, and I will put mine.
And I always try and answer emails as quickly as possible. I do have to say that I will be out of the country for a little while, but just have patience. I'll answer your questions if you have any.
Yeah, if he's not in a class, he's going to return your email.
Definitely.
Thanks, guys. We really appreciate you participating. I know, Ann, you followed me for a couple of years now, so thanks, guys. Bye, Travis. Bye, Joy. Bye, James. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you all.